Welcome, everybody, to the Breakthrough Moment podcast. Today's special guest is David Ryall. Thank you so much for joining us, mate.
You're welcome, brother.
I'm super excited for this. For those of you who don't know David, he owned a photography business for over 15 years, successfully sold it, went on a world expedition and found himself starting a retreat center in Bali, an active investor and trader. And he also specializes in helping business owners and entrepreneurs grow their net worth through his online 3-day challenge. And so without further ado, David, I'm super excited to pick your brains and learn your breakthrough moment. What was that one or two moments that really shifted your trajectory in your business career? Super curious. Over to you.
Well, I think in my photography business, especially, was actually getting control of my funnily enough. I guess in terms of the breakthrough moment was actually getting into severe debt with the business. Because it was a cyclical business, we did a lot of school photography. We had huge money coming in, but we also, at the end of the year, had huge money going out with no income coming in. And at the end of each year, that sort of cycle got deeper and deeper, such to the point where I got $250,000 in debt in the business with 3 weeks before any cash was going to come in. Had to borrow 60 grand from my dad just to get through. And it was such a shit moment. I just hated actually having to borrow money and be in that space. And so that's when I was like, oh my God, I actually got to take this finance thing seriously. Because prior to that, it was all just going to work. And I didn't have a finance background. I was a photographer, somehow became a manager, started managing staff really well. But the finance was working such that I wasn't having to pay attention until it wasn't. And that's what really shifted for me, both on the business front, I would really bring more attention to it, but also on the personal front of realizing that I had to get my personal position secure as well, because that was kind of looking the same. I was overspending, spending beyond my means, had a lot of means, but I had more spending than even that.
So it sounds like what you're doing now, which is helping people with their net worth, came from a mass amount of pain and struggle.
Exactly. Because from there, I just had to develop systems to manage my business better, manage myself better, and such that I found enjoyment from it and I wasn't afraid of it. And it was something that I could actually then start to show other people, which I did initially with a few friends and business acquaintances, and then realized, hey, this is something more people could use.
That's so important. And so what I'm curious to know is, when you had that moment of figuring out, okay, you really got to get on top of this cash flow or this net worth and this tracking, area of business. What did you do differently? How did that ripple into your business after that?
So I started actually looking at the expenses extremely tightly initially and really charting it out, what the flow looked like over the year, where the money was coming in, where it was going out, and at what key times it was going out. But really nailing down what it was going out on. So looking at every single expense extremely tightly just to see what was valid, what could be adjusted, removed, what could be renegotiated, just to tighten that up. Because that's where a lot of it was. It wasn't that the money wasn't coming in. And it's not that the expenses had to be high. They just were high. It was kind of like a laziness had set in of just just put it on the card, or, just get it, it'll be fine. Because the cash had always been coming in, but the spending habit just became too dramatic. Even personally, I was putting stuff through the business, which I could, but wasn't necessarily necessary. And so that was a structural change of being more focused with it, such that nowadays, with my newer business, I don't have to be, the systems are set up so that it doesn't take me a lot of time. It's like there was initial pain of setting up the systems, but now the systems are there. It's just an easy to manage, 10 minutes a day, 1 to 2 hours at the end of the month, just to tighten everything up, and it all keeps running.
Interesting. So did you then find that the tracking and the systems that you then have since created to help you with your business and your net worth, how has that improved your finances? And what was the result of, how is that? Yeah.
I mean, I went through a process of getting from, that minus sort of 250 in debt in the business, and I also had some personally, to working hard to zero that out and getting comfortable with that. And that was a big part of it. And then from being comfortable with that is actually getting comfortable with it growing, both on the business front and the personal front. And that was a real psychological shift. And I have noticed that with people, and there's been studies on it, when people are used to being in debt, even if they zero it out, they get back in debt very easily to whatever their comfort level is. And so that was a sort of a thing that I had to focus on shifting and being even more, like actually getting uncomfortable with zero to a degree, in terms of like, oh, this is, even this is not good. I, need to push it higher. And so I found that on the personal front, the more I've pushed that and got comfortable with having bigger and bigger numbers, the more I can keep on growing it. And I get very uncomfortable if it drops below a certain number, but that number is high. It's not the other way. It's actually in a high position, which I enjoy.
So it's a different set point.
Exactly. It's changing the set point. I remember that from a Tony Robbins, just a brief thing he said once was, it's just raising your standard. Like, what's your minimum that you need for your life to look good, to feel good? And so for me, it's less about the lifestyle thing. It's more about having that number in place such that I know that I can go years without generating income if I needed to, if something happened, and still be good. Like, I've still got money sitting there in investments and things, but if I had to go without income, it's all there, it's all secure.
So I'm curious, with what you've learned now in terms of managing your income and business and cash flow and everything like that, what advice would you give someone who's struggling right now with their finances and their business, to help them with their own breakthrough? What do you think they need to hear?
Either it's possible to change it, because it is, and it can get better. Just to really almost treat it like a meditation of drilling in on the details and seeing where it's going. Maybe it is a revenue issue, and if it's a revenue issue, my advice around that is to focus on the customer. And that's something I've always been strong at, is customer experience. It's like, what are they seeing? What are they feeling? Are they getting overwhelming value? And how to provide that. And I love that it's a feeling. It's not that you have to spend a ton of money to help them feel that. You can do it just through your presence and through your focus and getting them what they need in terms of what you deliver, just delivering it to the best degree that's possible for you. But if the revenue is fine, it's really just drilling down on the expenses and reducing. And chances are, if the business is off, the personal might be off. So it can be doing a two-pronged attack of like, okay, what needs to shift here?
So if you could go back and change one thing along your business career and throughout this experience, what would be that one thing you'd like to change?
I think just sorting out the money earlier, and putting, especially on the personal side, is focusing on my own net worth and just growing that, because I didn't do any investing at all for the 15 years that I had the business and I had huge revenues. I wasn't doing any investing. And so even if I had no time to focus on investments back then, even if I was just playing into ETFs or some blue chip stocks, these kind of safe assets, so to speak, would have been amazing to just set myself up in the future. And I guess really having that love of my future self. One of my employees had the worst saying, which was, that's future Rob's problem, as in he would delay things and be like, future Rob can deal with that kind of thing. I was like, oh, that's like, I want the opposite. I want to reduce all problems for future Dave by doing things now that help set me up. And so one of those is the net worth, really putting money aside, even, putting 1% off, 2% or 5%, whatever they can, even 10% of their income aside into an account that they can't, or that's hard to touch, so that it just keeps stacking, and they get used to having money, and used to being in the positive, not in the negative, because that will just change the psychology. It's like 100 heirs attract 100 heir ideas, 1,000 heirs attract 1,000 heir ideas, 100,000 heirs attract 100,000 heir ideas, millionaires attract millionaire ideas. The more money that you just have put away, the more you attract great ideas, the more that it helps you grow.
And it goes back to who we spend time with and learning
Exactly.
those around us with their own mindset. Other people's mindset around us really rubs off on us. So that's really interesting. Millionaires attract millionaire ideas. 100 heirs attract 100 heirs ideas. Interesting.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. And even amongst my friend group, I've still got people with various levels of money. For my part, I at least just try and maintain myself such that I'm not letting my energy go to a level where it's pulling down my income. I'd rather be the person that's, the rock, that's building myself, being strong, and then letting other people see that and get inspired to come up to that. because it's very easy to drop down just to be for the sake of loyalty or just to be liked and things like that. And that was a big thing for me as well. It's wanting to be liked by others. But at some point I realized that's not helping any of us. A good position, a fortunate position, I've managed to develop this thing. So if I can sustain this and just help embody that, and other people can come and can join me on that ride kind of thing, if they choose to, or at least at minimum, I can just, have my own situation good. And if other people get inspired by that, they can just say, how did you do it? And maybe I can share that with them.
That's why you do what you do today, hey? So helping inspire the next generation to not make any mistakes.
It's like, money doesn't make you happy, but poverty will make you sad. And so it's like, I'd rather help people at least be in control. It doesn't matter what their level of finance is, but at least be in control so that they're able to earn more than they spend, build their net worth, and have a better future for themselves.
Couldn't agree more. So as the world's changing, right, we've got AI looking to shift and disrupt many industries, most industries really. What predictions or changes do you think technology or AI is going to have to this or your industry?
It's a good question. I think with finance, I guess in terms of the bigger picture of investing, I guess AI can sort of game the system. If someone develops a nice AI, but then that will be disrupted by then someone who figures it out and starts, creating comparable systems. In terms of personal money management, I think that's almost fundamental. There may be better softwares that help people out with it, but I think it's one of those things, if people figure out the foundation of it, the technology will just be an augmentation. It's kind of like if someone's an accountant and then they get software to help manage the accounting, like that's useful, but they understand the fundamentals first. If you understand the fundamentals of your own money, you may use technology to augment it and make it easier or more efficient. But even I do so much of my stuff manually still, because there's so much benefit in being rawly connected with my money. Kind of like with my fitness, I don't outsource it to a coach or just down a machine that pumps me. It's like, no, I'm connected with my body. I do my own work so that I know what I'm up to, and it just makes it better for me, even if I use some sort of technology to enhance my fitness. It's like I know the fundamentals of my own body. So AI there could be interesting things that come out. I think the things that focus on customer experience, the best will probably get the best traction. It seems to be that way with most products. It doesn't matter how high the level of tech is, if it helps the customer do something easier or better or that kind of thing, that's where the dollars flow. That's where people will go.
For sure, efficiency and convenience are definitely taking over the world. So, but at the end of the day, how do you build muscle? You just pick stuff up that's heavy and put stuff down. But then there's machines and technology to make it effective, convenient. So,
and what you're saying, always the strongest are the ones that understand it at the fundamental level, and then they use the machines to take it further. But if you just purely jump on the machine, that may be convenient for people that don't know, but the ones that are strongest are the ones that understand the fundamentals. So I think if you want to be the strongest at anything, it's worth getting to the core of where it started and building from there. If you just want to be a consumer, just buy the technology.
I think what you're saying as well is to not to use technology or AI to bypass the fundamentals. And so they have the basics, have the fundamentals, know the metrics, know the formula, know the code. If we really want to master our own financials or reality, know to the best of our ability the detail, and then from there put the technology or the furry coat on top to make it warm and fuzzy for you, if you like. But interesting.
Exactly. It's kind of like you don't automate a process unless you've stripped it back to its absolute minimum number of steps. And because if you automate too early, you're going to automate stuff that doesn't even perhaps need doing. And so it's worth being rigorous about what actually needs to get done. Then you automate.
Talk about the important message. I've got a couple more questions to ask you. So what would be the most important message you want to share with people today?
To figure out what's important to them. I had found in my life it was easy to get distracted by the next shiny thing. Like even in business, there's lots of little dopamine hits of, reading this book or doing that course or that seminar or that kind of thing, a lot of which didn't get implemented in my life. But it's because I was either doing it or reading it because it was the a shiny kind of dopamine hit, even though it was in the realm of business or personal growth. It was still something that wasn't actually fundamentally important. And so something that I've integrated into my programs is helping people figure out what their values are and what's truly innately important to them, such that they don't get caught up wasting their time on lower priority things that may be interesting, like chocolate's interesting, but if you want a beautiful body, maybe it's less interesting. Like if body is your highest focus, then just hitting a chocolate bar every day is not actually going to help you with your ultimate value. And the same with business or with knowledge development or personal development. There's lots of things that feel good, but they're almost like having a chocolate bar. So if you can figure out what your highest value is, you can put more into that and less into the stuff that's lower quality.
Couldn't agree more. So I guess if people want to find their highest values and how to link it to money, they should do your program.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got a 3-day net worth program that people can do, and that helps them really delve into first looking at what their habits are around money, then looking at what their values are in life, regardless of the money, just what's actually important to them. And then if money's, like number 10 on the list, but they want to get a little bit higher and get a bit more flow with their money, then I've got the third part is helping them link money to their highest values so that they can get more of what they love. And money can support that instead of being in competition with it.
That's it. Yeah, I'll put the link around the video somewhere for anyone that wants to get in touch with David. Now, another question. If you could challenge, I really believe that we grow the most when we're challenged and we stretch our comfort zone. And so would be a challenge that you'd like to pass on to the audience today in terms of their finances and net worth? What would be something that you'd like to really, inspire them to do?
Encourage them to take to the extremely basic spreadsheet where their bank account name. Let's say they've got 5 accounts, just down the account name for the first one, how much money in it. Do that for all your accounts. Then do the same if you've got any debts. Put the debt name, put the negative number of what your debt is. For both your short-term stuff and even your long-term stuff like your superannuation or retirement funds, these kind of things, just to see what your current net worth position is. And if you know how much you spend a year, let's say you had $30,000 and you spend $60,000 a year, well, then you've got 6 months. Or if you didn't have income, you'd be able to last for that long. I find for myself, just having those numbers and seeing exactly where I'm at can either motivate me harder, as in, oh my God, I haven't got enough, and I want to build that number more, and here it is staring me in the face. Or if I'm actually happy with the number, it can also motivate me in the sense of okay, maybe I can relax. Maybe I don't need to focus on this thing that I actually don't like. Maybe I've got a little bit of time, a little bit of ramp where I can really focus on what I love, because I'm not going to, be out of money for the next 6, 12, 18 months, whatever it is. Maybe I can just spend a bit more time focusing on the thing that's really inspiring to me, as opposed to panicking, just, trying to keep making money. That's how I find it works for myself and other people that I've done it with.
Just to recap, there was what did you say? The bank account? Sorry, because you shared.
Sure. So you list out all your accounts, bank accounts, savings accounts, anywhere where money is stored. It could be your Wise account, your PayPal account, just anywhere where you've got money, list all of that out. And then anywhere where you've got debt, and list that out in the negative, and then add all those up to see what your total number is. So how much net worth you have at the moment, and that, could be $1,000, could be 5, could be 50, could be 100, could be a million, whatever it is for you. And then look at how much money you need to live in a year. Maybe it's 30 grand, maybe it's 60 grand, maybe it's 150 grand. But just see if your money was cut off, if your income was cut off, how long could you last? Because that can spur you into the motivation of either you need to get more money in so that you feel more comfortable, or hey, you actually feel comfortable so you can bring more focus to the things that are highest on your values, knowing that you're not going to run out of money anytime soon. And duplicate that spreadsheet once a month and update it so that you've always got the history of it, a tab of, every month's worth of history, and you're always updating the new one just to see how that's changing over time. Sometimes it's going to be up, sometimes it's going to be down, but at least by seeing how it's traveled over the months, you'll be more present with your money and how it's moving and why it's moving, versus, not doing that in a year's time, just being shocked because suddenly money's not how I thought it would be. If you're tracking it, at least you can know what the path was, know how you got where you are.
It sounds really simple, but for someone out there who has never done it before, it might seem quite complicated to do this. So I can't recommend David enough, everyone. If you want to reach out to him to get in touch, do his 3-day challenge. How can people get in touch, David? I'll obviously put your links around here, but what's the best way people can get?
Best way, go to davidryall.com, RYALL. You can hit me up through that and book in the challenge through there. Otherwise, if you Google my name, I'm on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on all the things, so you'll be able to find me that way too.
There we go. Well, thank you so much for your time, David. These have been pearls of wisdom. If anyone's out there that you guys are listening at home, if you're out there and other people are also going to benefit from this message, share it with them, partners, business partners, family and friends. I think, as you mentioned, money doesn't make us happy, but being poor definitely makes us sad. So I love that.
Creates problems.
That's it. So appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you in the community. And see you next time. Thanks, David.
Cheers, mate.